run through these because there are some good stories, and I don't want to miss them. The first story that we missed was Rick Jeanreau. This is Art Chowder Magazine. Congratulations to Rick. We really appreciate the work that he does. This turned out beautiful. He got the cover of Art Chowder Magazine. We just wanted to do a real quick shout out to Rick. I hope you're doing well out there, brother. I know you haven't had a chance to show for quite a while, well, regularly at least. And we hope that you have a good inventory built up, and I hope that your next big show really does well. But we wanted to say that we saw that, and that was really cool. And congratulations on the cover of Art Chowder Magazine. So he's a Colville. He does wonderful work. He heads down to Santa Fe all the time, and he's just really connected. And we miss seeing you around, man. So
right on, Rick.
Yeah, right on. We'll go from that right into our basketball. We got some Division I stuff, and yeah, this is pretty cool. State 1, Division I boys basketball tournament, Lakeside's lucky day.
Yeah, so we see the Lakeside boys basketball coach, James Two Teeth, is turning towards the next big man. Unfortunately, Day Higgins, he was a senior, 4-year varsity player. Torn meniscus caused him to be out for the season, and we're coming up to the state district championship, and so we see Lucky Matt, a freshman who spent most of the season on the junior varsity team, and he's making his first varsity start. The 6'4" Matt stepped up and played big, particularly in the game's final moments, finishing with 13 points, 18 rebounds, as Lakeside overtook Oakley's in the second half for a 51-45 victory in the first round State 1A Division Tournament Wednesday afternoon. Lucky Matt said he was really nervous, but he stepped on the court with confidence, and that's all he needed. Knight had been the Knight team. Lucky Day had been with them. I'm mixing up my players now. Lucky Matt had been with the Knights, and he's just, with Day out, he stepped up and got in there. James Two Teeth, the coach, said he's a big kid and he likes to bang a little. So it's to the Knights' advantage that Lucky was there to play.
Yeah, so good job to the Lakeside guys, and we'll keep an eye on you and watch their progress. That's pretty cool. I'm real excited for them. So moving right along, we have a quick announcement on social justice. This is climate justice is social justice. This is actually environmental justice webinar put on by Gonzaga Environmental Organization, and we have Angelina Campabasso, Dr. Matthew Holland, and Kevin Patel. This will be, I think it's Patel. Will be March 15th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. We'll leave the link to this and to all the stories that we're covering in the comment section below. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to chime in. Again, thanks for tuning in. Shout out to Tig Phillips. It's good. We're happy to have you. We're glad that you're here. We have a feed that we can read live chat, so if you want to chime in that way, you can do that too. So our next story hits really close to home, and this is from the Spokane Police Department. Actually ran on Creme 2 News, so take a look at this one. Oh, there it was. Report: Spokane police more likely to use force against Black Native American residents. So this one really hits home. It's by Megan Carroll of Creme 2 News and came out on March 3rd. The report did not find any disparity by race in stops or arrests, but Black and Native American subjects in Spokane were more likely to have force used against them. A report commissioned by the Spokane Police Department shows that Black and Native American residents were more likely to be suspected of crimes and have force used against them by officers. The 300-page report is a comprehensive analysis of the police contacts focusing on SPD data, according to a press release from the department. Data used for the report from January 1st, 2017 through the end of June 2020. The information was Police Strategies LLC, the company that developed the Spokane Office of the Police Ombudsman use of force dashboard system, compiled the data. It's something that's ongoing. It's something that we've had issues with here. in Spokane, if we look back to, well, there's just been over and over and over again. There's too many to kind of reference over the years, but
we know that a significant percentage of the individuals that are alleged to have committed crimes have been native, that have been shot. They've been native. A significant 3 out of 7, I think the number was. Mm-hmm. And so we have this ongoing issue with the criminal justice system. Native Americans, they have higher bail amounts, and we get longer sentencing. That's from the Bail Project, a report that we've talked about in the past. But this is a serious issue. Justice is supposed to be blind, and we're just looking out for our folks when we report on these issues.
Yeah, this article goes on to state that Black and Native American subjects in Spokane were more likely to be identified as a suspect in a reported crime, would be expected based on their population, according to an executive summary of the report. Data from the report shows that Black subjects were more than 3 times more likely to be identified as a suspect, and Native Americans were 68% more likely to be identified as a subject. Reported crimes included in the study are incidents the public calls into Spokane Police via 911 crime check or another avenue where an officer follows up on the incident. They also include officer-initiated stops. The report did not find disparities by race in stops or arrests, but Black and Native American subjects were more likely to have force used against them during an arrest. Black subjects were 22% more likely to have force used against them, compared to 49% for Native American subjects. And, it just goes on and on. We've had, if you look back historically, the one article that I read, and this must have been 5 years ago now, said that Native Americans in Spokane, not the rest of the country, but in Spokane, were being arrested at about 7 times what non-natives were.
Wow.
And that was just crazy. And then, of course, you said, I think that was about, I think it was those numbers you were talking about were based on, I think, 2019, because it came out last year, the report on that, where I think you're right, 3 out of 7 of the people shot by police officers in Spokane were natives. And then we turn around and look at the Bail Project, where their studies found out that Native Americans were being held for higher bails and for longer periods of time being incarcerated, so waiting for their arraignment and so forth. And then this report just it kind of reiterates, or it goes on to tell us that this story is all kind of the same from the very beginning, from the initiation, not necessarily from the initiation of the stop, but from the experience when the police get there. So it's not they're not pulling them over at higher rates. This doesn't show that. What it shows is that it's more likely to be physical and more likely to become violent with natives once they are stopped. And so what we're looking at is Native Americans being roughed up and being physically abused. They're being shot more in Spokane than other races. They're being incarcerated for longer periods of time for higher bail amounts, and we're less than 2% of the population. That's crazy. It's just it's unacceptable, and we need to see change. And I think this report is a step in the right direction. It may not be an overall solution for that, but the more we can raise awareness to all these things, the better off I think we're going to be. So.
Yeah, and we covered a story a couple weeks back. The Native Project was entering into an MOA with the Spokane Police Department, really, demanding fair and equal treatment. So we respect that. Across Indian country, we're working towards justice as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this story, the next story, was covered at all.
I think we got the back end of it, so I think we could go ahead and do
the highlight.
Just go over the first portion of it.
Okay, so we found a sex trafficking sting nets Enbridge pipeline workers. So there was a sex trafficking sting in northern Minnesota, and at least 2 of the 7 men arrested for sex trafficking were working on that Line 3 pipeline project. So the arrests, really brought renewed calls for fighting sex trafficking along the Canadian company's Line 3 project, which stretches through to northern Minnesota, from Alberta, Canada to Superior, Wisconsin. And, those arrests aren't surprising, but it's still really sad that we're fighting human trafficking. We have leaders across Indian country doing everything they can. And here we're seeing resource extraction and then, of course, abuse of human individuals. So the law enforcement are working with tribal leaders, hopefully, to put an end to some of the sex trafficking and human trafficking that's happening.
And again, it goes back to the whole man camp thing with the pipelines, and it also goes hand in hand with mining camps and a variety of other organizations. And it has to do a lot of times with the natural resources. When they go in for the natural resources, they're so rural that the local authorities can't get to them, so it's a lawless environment. And then, of course, they're paid a lot because they end up with a lot of overtime and nowhere to spend it, and it's just a lot of different things. So, and I have to reiterate that they should be policing their own people better.
Well, it was good to hear they terminated those employees and that they have a zero tolerance for illegal behavior. So the companies are hearing us. They're reprimanding their employees, and here we've seen termination. Send them back to Texas.
Yeah. So anyhow, moving right along, we want to do a quick shout out to Jamie Abrahamson. Good morning, Jamie. It's good to see you. We're happy that you chimed in and tuned in with us. We have a follow-up on one of the stories. Irv Schlufer, Coeur d'Alene tribal elder, says just 2 days after the police said it was okay for racist militia to parade downtown Spokane with assault rifles, he was at the post office protest, and within minutes, he had 2 white cops confront him and ask him, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" There were other protesters and 2 news crews there. He said he's a 65-year-old retiree, and he was armed with a GoPro. So he was down there packing a GoPro, and they approached him and started, kind of asking him what's going on. What are you doing? Is that GoPro loaded, I guess? I don't know. But yeah, if you've never checked out his site, you should go check it out. It's ResPix. If you Google ResPix, it's a Smug Mug account. You check it out, man. The guy's he's got thousands of images. He's probably got hundreds of videos up by now, but he's had millions of hits on that. And so Irv has been on the ground. He reports for us, and he's been covering the COVID numbers for us and a bunch of other stuff. And he's got a really cool thing going. And he's the one that did all of the infrared of the powwow dancers a few years ago.
Very cool.
And that really, has been doing well for him. So anyhow, shout out to both those guys. Again, shout out to Tig Phillips. Thanks again for tuning in.
Shout out to my bestie, Jamie girl.
Yeah,
right?
Jamie.
All right, Jamie out there on Drum Road.
Yeah.
So let's take a turn, and Jeff will look at the Senate panel votes to support Deb Haaland for Interior Secretary. So, Jeff, you might not know this, but it's Women's History Month. And we see here New Mexico Representative Deb Haaland has found her niche, a way to be celebrated, paving the way to become the first Native American woman to serve as cabinet member in the United States government. On Thursday morning, the Senate Committee on Energy and Natural Resources voted 9-11 in favor of recommending Haaland, a citizen of the Laguna Pueblo, and to the 8th most powerful position in the government, the Secretary of the United States Department of Interior. We see that Senator Lisa Murkowski, a Republican lawmaker from Alaska, was the only party member to cross the aisle and join the Democrats to confirm Haaland. Murkowski said, despite her own doubts, her constituents' concerns that the new administration's opposition to resource development on public lands will threaten key projects in the state, her experience confirming in the Obama-era secretary who promised to be a good partner and proved to be anything but after the confirmations, she still, Murkowski would still support Haaland's nomination. So that was real exciting.
Yeah, it says, she goes on to state, I'm going to place my trust in the Representative Haaland and her team despite some very real misgivings, Murkowski said. And I guess I would direct this to Representative Haaland if you're listening. Now that I intend to work with you, but because I want you to be successful, and quite honestly, we need you to be successful. Speaking against her on Thursday was Senator John Barrasso, I guess is how you would pronounce it, out of Wyoming. He's a Republican who said that Haaland's extreme policy views and lack of substantive answers during the hearing disqualify her for this job. Wow.
Yeah, Jeff, I watched the hearings, and when they were trying to pin down Deborah Haaland on some complex issues, they were trying to get her to forecast and predict how she would react, and she said that she was willing to work across the aisle, that she would look at all the facts, and that she was not prepared to make a comment on those decisions that would happen in the future. She had the same exact answer that a lot of politicians, when they're getting cross-examined in these confirmation hearings, have. But here we see this gentleman just criticizing her. So I believe Haaland had substantive answers, but she was being asked to predict into the future, and you're not supposed to do that. You know, if you're asking questions about current policy and things that are happening now. In fact, they grilled her on her choices in the past, and one senator was like, so you voted against the act and something grizzly bears. What was your purpose there? And she goes, I don't know. I guess I was just protecting the bears. I thought about our four-legged creatures. The bears. So it was real interesting. There was a couple of days of hearings. Republican senators repeatedly questioned Haaland to express her own views on matters such as halting the Keystone XL pipeline, but she consistently withheld from expressing her own views. And she said, if I'm confirmed as secretary, it's the president Biden's agenda, not my own agenda. And she said, I am working for all Americans. If confirmed, I will work for all of Americans.
Yeah. So, that was the big hurdle. They were trying to get past the Senate and the senators, and that was the big hurdle. She blew through the Republicans with no problem, the Democrats in the House of Representatives with no problem, and it was the Republican opposition in the Senate that everybody was kind of worried about. So kudos for her for hanging in there, man. We're getting a strong Indian woman in the Secretary of Interior position, which is awesome. They are so instrumental, and I know that the work there has been piling up for a long time, and I'm happy to see that is going through. I'm looking forward to seeing what she can get accomplished. We talk about what the presidents do in their first 100 days. I want to see what she's going to do in her first 100 days, because I think she's going to knock it out of the park. Pretty cool. So moving right along, we have
Native American Agricultural Fund, a food access survey. So folks are invited to take part of this research study, access to food.
Yeah, this research is important for understanding how COVID-19 has affected hunger and food access for Native American people, and can help determine resources needed to help improve access to nutrition for tribal communities. If you agree to take part in this research, you will be asked to complete an online survey that takes about 15 to 20 minutes. You can choose to not answer any questions you do not wish to, and you can stop at any time. Your anonymity will be maintained. Thank you for considering this invitation. If you have any questions about this study, you can contact Valerie Segrest at vsegrest@nativeamericanagriculturefund.com. So they want to figure out, how to help people, and I'm sure this is to figure out in the future if we have other emergencies that something like this would pertain to. So we'll leave the link to the Survey Monkey in the comment section below. But if you get a chance, the more information they can gather. I know some tribes, some reservations have done really well at food distribution. And as a matter of fact, if we go right into it, we can talk about the Yakimas. The Yakimas have been doing very good. We'll do this one first because this is totally relevant. The Yakimas have a food box giveaway Saturday, March 6th from 11 to 12 or till all the food's gone. And there's a one box limit. This is at White Swan Trading Post, and Selena Beard will be out in the parking lot there. So we'll leave the links to that too. But that's a prime example of how some tribes are doing really well, but other tribes have struggled in the supply chain. They've struggled in, distribution, and sometimes they're so rural, especially when you get into some of the Dakotas, they're so far out there, it's hard to keep fresh produce fresh. It's hard to keep,
So we call them food deserts. When you have large areas of land that don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables and groceries, and they have to be trucked in along with food deserts.
Perishables. That's the word I was looking for.
And unfortunately, Indian country, often we have a lot of food deserts, and we want access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So and having to truck them in can be expensive.
Yeah, but that being said, if you're in the Yakama Nation's area, the Yakama Nation's fishery staff will be handing out fresh smelt at the White Swan Community Center. That's today at 10 a.m. So you better get your moccasins on and head down there, because I'm sure they'll go pretty quick. That's Friday today, March 5th at 10 a.m. at the White Swan Community Center. Go get your smelt.
There you go. Okay, another note out of the Yakima Herald. Yakima School District formally recognizing the Yakama Nation's land. The Yakima School District is recognizing that it's Yakama Nation's land upon which its schools reside. And this was at the school board meeting. A land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognizes and respects the Native people as the traditional guardian of the land, and an enduring relationship that exists between Native people and their traditional homelands. This was from Elise Washeen's program manager at the Yakama Nation Higher Education Program. She made this statement during the meeting. The school district's land recognition was reviewed by Education Committee, the Tribal Council, tribal leaders, and elders, she said. This recognition was the result of 3 years of consultation between the Yakama Nation, according to district leaders, and it's intended to be read before the start of the district and board meetings as a moment to pause and reflect. Today, the schools of the Yakima School District rest on the ancestral lands of the 14 confederated tribes of the bands of the Yakama Nation. It says that the people of the Yakama Nation inhabited for more than 12 million acres across Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Franklin, Grant, Kittitas, Klickitat, and Yakima counties.
Wow. That's awesome. That is really cool. I am just so happy. What a great day, We work on things like the land acknowledgement, but look at this. She just looks awesome. Look at that regalia. She just is very, she did a great portrait there, and she's doing great work. But we work on these land acknowledgements, so people, and it really, a lot of times it piques people's interest. They want to know, well, what are those guys talking about? And that sparks these conversations that lead to creating relationships with our non-native allies. And we need as many non-native allies as we can get to help push our programs through, to help get funding, to help get all sorts of things done. So, yeah, this is great. It's exciting.
And how powerful is it for those Yakima children that go to the school district to hear school administrators recognizing that is their tribal territories, their tribal lands. They're thanking the tribe. The land acknowledgement states that we thank the caretakers of this land who have lived here and continue to live here since time immemorial. Just this acknowledgement is a simple and powerful way to show respect to the Yakama Nation. So we appreciate that. That's really cool.
Yeah, just to kind of give you a little example, the story I always tell is when I was growing up in Spokane, in my 8th grade Washington history book, I opened up my Washington history book, and there was one line about the Spokane tribe, one sentence in the whole book, and it made me question. What's the history, or is this book wrong? Are all my aunties and uncles, are all they wrong, or what's going on? What my mom taught me what's going on. So being able to see things like this is really a great step in the right direction. You know, we worked at doing land acknowledgments. That was one of the things when I met with some of the guys over, the folks at Gonzaga, and that was one of the things I pushed with them. But one of the things that I would like to see as we go from along the major highways, whether it's I-90 or Highway 2 or wherever, when we go into a new city, along with the signs that say, "Welcome to Spokane," I'd like to see a little sign that hangs underneath it that says, "Welcome to Spokane, the ancestral homelands of the Spokane tribe." And if we can do that on every highway going into every of all 29 tribes in all of Washington, that would create a lot of curiosity among the non-native people in the area. And so that's what I want to see. Everywhere I go, when you go into Seattle, you know, Suquamish or not Suquamish, Duwamish over there. Yeah, so get on the ferry and they say, you know, you're going to land at the homeland, you know, that would be cool. Just, you know, I think it really just helps bring us all together as a country and as a community. So anyhow, we have a really cool story about these really cool people, and we'll just go right to it.
Moving to our next story, Salish School of Spokane adds a new building to its campus. Despite the struggles that have been created by the pandemic, the Salish School of Spokane will be adding a new building to its campus, allowing them more space to teach their young children in 2 different programs. It's a bit of breathing room and to continue their vision of teaching from cradle to college. The plan is to move students in on the March 31st. You know, they're a small organization. They're always operating at maximum capacity. You know, it's a building. You know, they're building curriculum. They're teaching the language. The teachers work really hard to learn the language so they can turn around and teach. And this immersion language teaching program. It's really a challenge, but you know, Christopher Parkin, he's the principal there at the school. He was talking about this opportunity and how they're moving forward. They've had some support for the Vaden Foundation, Satterberg Foundation, and Group Health Foundation through the last 18 months, and they were able to put out a down payment last March to purchase their facilities on contract. Before, the school had been renting for the past 10 years. They've always been crowded, and you know, they incorporate families into their learning curriculum. And so Parkin said this funding allows them to make campus improvements, including proper sidewalks, parking, you know, this modular building that's going to be added. This installment's adding 2 classrooms, each with their own bathroom, and really to house the school's early childhood learning assistance program and ECAP pilot program. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, that really makes me happy because we have waited. I know they've waited. We helped out with some of their fundraisers because they were trying to expand for a couple years now, and for them to be able to do this is really exciting.
And research tells us that the more money and attention that we put in those early childhood years really pays off in the long run and benefits the children's education. They're ready for kindergarten, they're ready for 1st grade, and they really have a more successful overall educational experience when they've had that early childhood assistance program.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's really cool. Congratulations, Chris Parkin. Congratulations to Lorraine Wiley. And congratulations to the whole posse over there at the Salish School of Spokane. They're doing wonderful things. They're expanding and growing.
Teaching that Insaukshin, you know, dialect. We're just so proud of all the work they do.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So with that being said, we had and I want to throw this out there because this is really important. This is Irv's been covering this story for us, and he's talking about the zebra mussels. So there have been announcements, and if you haven't caught up with this, is the zebra mussels, Beta Buddy moss for fish tanks, marked to go to Petco. They've been sent out to multiple states, and they contain zebra mussels. And this is included in distribution in Idaho, Washington, Montana, and Colorado. So the zebra mussels are an invasive species that go on and attach themselves to the other mussels, and it can rob the nutrients of the ecosystem, and that puts a undue burden and can kill the native species that are in our waterways. So if you've bought that, please dispose of it properly and do not dump your tank water down the drain, because that just spreads the mussels into our waterways, and we don't need those. We already have plenty of invasive species here, so we don't need any more.
Including humans.
So thank you, for letting us know about that. We're going to keep an eye on the zebra mussels, because it's a problem. It's really coming in quick, and it can go very fast. Those things, they spread like wildfire. So keep an eye out on that. So I think that's all we have for today. We're at the weekend. So thank you once again for joining us. We really appreciate you. If you have any questions or comments, if you have any story ideas or interviews, be sure to let us know.
Because we want to hear from you. We want to cover the news that are important to you. If it's culture, if it's sports, keep us
artists,
elders,
academics, all sorts of stuff. Division I, we want people that are going away to college or work overseas. We want to see the impact that the natives in the Northwest are having on the world, and we want to share this locally, regionally, nationally. Thank you. If you want to keep up with us, be sure to like and subscribe. And I should have said this in the beginning, but be sure to hit that bell. If you don't hit the bell, you won't get the
notifications.
You won't get the notifications, so you got to get the notifications. We're doing this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 a.m. to 8:47.
We're a little late today.
8:30, 8 to 8:30 is what we're shooting for. We did go a little late today, but we thank you. We raise our hands to you.
Lemlem Sluchalacht, we say thank you to all our friends. She'uhoi.
She'uhoi.